There's just 1 minute to showtime.
The engines are on.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
When they wrote up the systems and the rule set that we use, did working people get to write a line? What class of men on pen and paper jotted down their clues? With capital the heart of their design. When 90 million want a thing, but some shareholders say no, which class of people get to have their way? The people read the fine print, say that this thing has got to go, and we'll start writing a new contract here today. Don't you know that hundreds will work and one man keeps the money? They don't think they gotta tell us why. When they say the new social contract, all the bosses will be gobsmacked and everyone will want a sign. Oh, yeah, everyone will want a sign.
All right, so many steps to getting us on the air, but here we are. A lot of behind-the-scenes magic, people. I hope you enjoyed our fantastic theme song, as I always do. That is courtesy of our own very talented Mr. Mayor Jared. So thanks to him. He's got plenty of music out on the internet of all the places that you can find music. So make sure you check out and download his music so he gets some money. So hello, Jared. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. This is last week was extra bonus work week, which led to our Juneteenth special on Thursday. But this week we are back to really. I have reduced work this week, so I'm trying to not allow myself to complain. Because I'm sitting here internally just like, oh, it's work. Today is work day. It's like there's much less work. You need to stay on the bright side here.
Yes, excellent. Much less work is better. We all like much less work. So yeah, we are back very quickly. We were on had as Jared said, a modified schedule last week. So we had a very special Juneteenth episode that was not intentionally meant to be on Juneteenth. It happened that way. So and as always, you can check out our archive of past episodes on our YouTube channel as well as our Rumble channel. The whole history of episodes are there. And if you want to watch live, we're on Twitch and links on Twitter, and you can find us. We're around. Blue Sky also, even though it's a wasteland over there, like it's completely dead. So everybody's like, we're leaving Twitter. It's like, where are you gonna go? So, and then you notice like a few weeks later, everybody starts migrating back. So, yeah, all the people that were like, we're leaving. I'm like, well, okay, I guess, but it's still where everybody is. We have to use the tools of the empire if we're going to fight the empire. So, because that's where all the people are on our digital town square. So yeah. Pretty big week in the news, so you probably have guessed what we are going to be talking about, spending the hour on this week. But quick note, for those of you in New York City, this is, as I'm sure you know, I want to spend only a second on this because neither Jared or myself are in New York or from New York. So we have no real horse in this race. But we will say that, I know that you know.
There's a new Bernie Sanders in town, and he has yet to have an opportunity to piss us all off.
There you
go.
So
we still
brother,
like him for now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. He's, as you well know, and I think the rest of the country pretty much knows at this point, they're in an effort to oust Eric Adams, which please do, because we do.
I forgot that they already have like a Democrat mayor. It's Eric Adams though.
Yeah, well, and now that being a Democrat is basically being a Republican, so they hold the same values at this point, and they're just as corrupt. But we do look to, even if we live in big cities, both of us do, we all America looks to the biggest cities, LA and New York, to take our cues from. Essentially, what works there typically works in the big cities elsewhere around the country, and sort of sets the standard for what's going on. So as Jared just said, we got a new Bernie coming through, an avowed social democrat, and I'm seeing the very troubling trend that I've said that I'm going to see, because as soon as the next presidential election comes up, everybody's going to do this exact same thing for Gavin Newsom and completely rewrite his history and pretend that he's like the most liberal, amazing guy in the world, just to get rid of Trump. But what we have right now is Zohan Mamdani versus Andrew fucking Cuomo. And if people would get their expectations a little bit under control here, because Mamdani does promise some neat ideas like, hey, public transit that works, food, like grocery stores, like that sounds pretty reasonable, right? Like not the bare minimum, it's so below the bar, it's underground. But if you just looked at it from the perspective of if you think he's being racist upon now, wait until if he were to be elected. But I think magically he's just not going to be elected, and they're going to find all these amazing magic votes for Cuomo, and everyone's going to blame the boomers and the people who didn't come, and the leftists who say that he wasn't left enough, he wasn't socialist enough.
I only kind of follow his thing, and it seems like it has been a begrudging, slight support from both New York DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, who ostensibly would be this guy's party, I guess, even though if you ask them, no, we're not a separate party, we're just part of the Democrats, but we're whatever. Like the things they were told is, oh, Bernie's, don't worry, he's not a socialist, he's there, that's just a wing of the Democratic Party, etc., etc. AOC did not want to endorse him, and then they kind of bullied her into it. Yep. DSA did not want to endorse him, then they kind of bullied him into it. And now, because he is ahead in polling, I guess, or doing way better, the fact that he's anywhere near Andrew Cuomo, because Andrew Cuomo is one of the Cuomo family is one of those families. Like they just get to, they are one of the anointed.
The deciders.
Yeah, that's why one of them is a CNN anchor, and the other was a mayor, a senator, I think.
Yeah, well, their dad
governor?
Forever. Their dad was like king of the world forever. Yeah. He's king shit at Turd Mountain for a really long time.
It's like he might as well be a Pelosi or a Clinton or a
it's one of the dynastic families.
Yeah. So those families. So he's going to, that he's definitely the quote establishment favorite for that reason. So the fact that whatever his name is, Mamdani is anywhere near him, Zoran, which I saw it and I thought Zoltan. I'm like, oh, dude, we're
I
going
thought the
back,
same
man.
thing when I first saw him come out. I'm like, Zoltan, and I'm like,
Mamdani is coming at us. But please don't take this as me making fun of this dude's ethnicity. That is the last thing on my mind.
No.
What I want to point out is, even he, like you're saying, he has some very boilerplate, basic opinions, and the establishment is coming together to try and make sure he doesn't win. Even this unthreatening Bernie light guy who has none of the history or potential, none of the. It's like a 10% of Bernie's total power, and even he. We had just last night. It's Colbert grills NYC mayoral candidate Zohan Mamdani on his Israel views ahead of primary vote. Because as a New York City resident, your main concern for your mayor is mayor of New York City. What are you doing to protect Israel?
And well, that's exactly the point where I don't
give a shit about homelessness. I don't give a shit about all the poverty and the fact that the subway floods every few months.
Yeah,
what I care about is what are you doing for this country on the other side of the world.
That's the whole thing. Is I just really wish it's like I really hate to see this celebritizing of a politician again, because people are really still jonesing for that to fill that Bernie hole.
They're jingling keys at us, like, look,
they are 100% doing that. And the thing is this guy is very likable. He was originally had a fledgling rap career, and people are like, well, you just make me like him harder. Like,
just
no,
like
he's
AOC
nice
dancing
dude,
on
right?
that rooftop. AOC dancing away.
Yeah.
Fun.
That's what I really just wish people would not take their stupid pills and remember that this is what we're just seeing a rehash of this. Because you're still participating in electoral politics and a broken system, and you can't put a Band-Aid on that by voting. Now, that being said, I do think it's important to do whatever you can, New York City, to not let Andrew Cuomo be your mayor. That's all that I have to really say about it. That's really
the fact that it's Cuomo is really effing funny. Because it's not like they have, this just normal generic Democrat man. No, it's a guy with a huge amount of baggage who had doesn't he have a doesn't he get a Me Too? Didn't he get a conviction? I know he got like fired over things, but doesn't he have like a criminal record over
I
it? Or
don't
I'm
know if
thinking
it
of
went that far or not. I really, one of those
I'm
against
thinking of
my
the other
will
guy.
type of a situations
I'm
of
thinking of the
hearing
guy who
that.
was texting the 15-year-old who
But
looks
he
just
did
like
say
Andrew.
his entire defense of harassing female staffers and like pretty much any women honking boobs and pinching butts and whatnot. His defense was, I'm not a pervert. I'm Italian.
I'm Italian.
Okay.
I would dig that up as a headline, but
You're
it
a
was
perverted Italian who doesn't respect people's boundaries, and you're a dickhead. So that being said, we've got more important things to talk about. But just because that is literally happening today, and there does seem to be a fair amount of enthusiasm behind Mom Donnie. Maybe to the bigger point is where Democrats are putting out this sort of like bullshit narrative of like, we're going to spend a bunch of money and find out how to connect with dudes. We need to know how to connect with dudes. This guy's connecting with dudes all day. So that just shows you that they're not serious.
Like, as much as this is a mayoral race that only a very small number of Americans can actually vote for, but I think this is very much emblematic of the conversation we're about to getting into here which is the like, oh well, Trump is starting a war, but like the Democrats wouldn't have done like this weird. I guess there's a blank space. There's negative space in that Trump Republicans starting a war. So now there's this implied, oh well, you see, the Democrats wouldn't have done that. But they're starting to claim that, and then we look at it for 2 seconds, go, what do you even mean? Every single elected federal, at least Democrat, okay, not every single. There's probably like you have your Rashida Tlaibs out there. They do exist, and their role is to be the one person who's like, I don't really like this. So you could be like, see, the party does have good people in it, and keep you voting for them, even though like the other 90% of whatever of your representatives voted the way you did not want.
Right.
We have there is so little dissent even allowed to get anywhere freaking near this that you have, again, a mayoral candidate who does not get to go to Congress and vote over whether or not weapons get authorized to get sent to whatever country. That is some foreign policy shit. This is a mayoral candidate, and here are the questions that your capital big D Democrat, one of your gods here, I guess not gods, but your head propagandists, your Stephen Colbert's, a guy who used to go around being like, oh, super PACs are super evil. Let's look at all this dirty campaign financing, blah, blah, blah. Did like actual almost investigative journalism kind of stuff. Now this is what he does on late night. He gets on and asks this mayoral candidate, does Israel have a right to exist? As if a New York mayor gets to go and make a decision on that, or has fucking anything to do with any other country, let alone any other state. This shithead doesn't, I say shit, I'm just swearing for the sake of swearing now. This guy, if elected, can't even control New Jersey, let alone freaking Israel, and we're supposed to be, okay, does Israel have the right to exist? The host asked him. I'm just gonna do this voice. Yes, like all nations, I believe it has a right to exist, and a responsibility also to uphold international law. So like, even this dude, your best guy, is up there going, well, Israel has a, do Bernie voice, Israel has a right to exist, and whatever happens to Iran, I guess they just had it coming, shouldn't have been such assholes. Like, that's the most left you're even allowed to fucking think about. And it's too much. Nope, sorry, we got to take him out. Colbert's been unleashed. The apparatus is going to see if they can sink him. And if they can't sink him, they turn him into Rashida Tlaib at best, where he just sits there and says, I don't agree with this. Even if he eventually became a congressperson or a senator or whatever, he can be the lone conscientious objector. Or, more likely, he gets twisted into an AOC who just votes for all the dumb shit that you don't want in the first place. He'll have his moment where Nancy Pelosi, or probably AOC, will walk up to him when he's about to do a vote they don't want, and she'll go, ha, ba, 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 and then he'll be in tears, and then he'll change his vote. And then that's what happened with AOC, if you guys remember. She voted nothing, like abstain. She didn't vote no. She voted I'm like present. She voted present on a funding bill for the military that would have passed without her vote. And then you see on C-SPAN Nancy Pelosi march over to her, go ba 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 ba, and then you see her cry, and then she changes her vote. And that was it. It was all over from there. And that is the best you can possibly expect from a guy if he wins, who like, why would you put all your energy behind this? Why would you play this game of like, why are you hitting yourself, but with the Democratic Party? Like,
it literally, that's what electoral politics is. It quite literally is a game of why are you hitting yourself? You cannot fix the situation
by say thank you.
Yeah, you can't fix the situation by participating in it, but we're not as far enough removed from the system that we need to be, that you can't not participate in it as well. So, but if people would just meter their expectations and realize he is going to be an apparatus of the state, he is going to be part of the establishment. He is high-fiving people and walking the streets and saying, I'm getting yelled at and I'm getting high fives. He's being Mr. Personality, and that's really cool and all. And I don't think he's a bad dude necessarily, but just please meter your expectations about what this guy can even do, which is nothing, because he will be stopped at every turn, and he will eventually start to agree, because the wheels are going to get greased and he's going to get lots of money and lots of accolades, and people are going to treat him like a celebrity, which is ultimately what they're all about, because he's basically a useless nothingness position at this point. So
if he's useful for propaganda, they'll put him out there as an American Idol winner, or he might be an American Idol loser, in which case Cuomo maintains his American Idol supremacy from a little bit before we had a temporary fall from grace where he had to pretend to feel bad about grabbing titties.
Yes, exactly that. And it means nothing, because Trump is the president who, openly admitted the same thing, Epstein, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, decorum doesn't mean anything. And speaking of which today, I don't know if you saw it, but just to kind of conclude this real quick, it's just that vote, if you feel compelled to do so, vote, but vote just to get Andrew Cuomo out of the position, and that's really it. But don't vote because you think the moon and the stars of Mondani. He can't do what he's saying he could do, even on the smallest, maybe one little change, maybe one bus route will be a little bit faster, or maybe a grocery store he'll get ribbon
he's talking
cut.
about increasing funding for anti-Semitic programs by 800%. Like, whatever.
Yeah,
what does that even mean? I'm just going to give a bunch of shadow money to a guy doing a bullshit racket. I'm fighting anti-Semitism. Give me millions of dollars.
Yeah, and if you think because I just don't like the trend of people immediately jumping back on and being like, hope and change, hope and change. Hope and change was fake, people. Hope and change was fucking fake. It was a ploy. It was a trick. But I'm not saying that this guy doesn't have good intentions. I'm not saying his ideas are even bad. I'm just saying he's not going to be able to do it. He's going to be fought tooth and nail. He's going to get hardcore racist on. The mailers that Cuomo's campaign sent out darkened his skin and elongated his beard for some reason.
They made
to
him
make
more
look
Muslim, I guess, by making his beard
They're
longer.
like, he's a Muslim, and they're flying airplanes around with banners and shit like that, like, I'm Muslim. So,
and these are the good guys running those attack campaigns.
Yeah.
Remember, it's a Democrat versus Democrat race, so it's not weird Republicans making beard elongating, darker skin things of this scary. Is he Indian? I don't even know. This scary brown man.
He's Muslim, but I'm not sure exactly of what persuasion.
So you can be Indian Muslim. You can be.
I'm not sure exactly.
Is he Palestinian? That'd be crazy.
Yeah, well, that'd be great, but that's not going to happen. But that's where we are today, and that's literally happening today, which is why we're talking about it, even though it's going to affect a very tiny percentage. But again, the big cities are generally bellwethers for the smaller feeder cities.
I'll never tell you not to vote, but I'll also never tell you to vote unless we somehow find ourselves in a situation where the vote will actually has even the chance of doing something. Because realize if he wins, best case he becomes AOC, or a worst case, actually the best case is if he actually tries to do shit, he is removed from office through some nonsense, murdered, which I don't want for anyone, of course, or he turns into I can't remember their freaking names, but there's been various politicians. Remember the Buffalo mayor who was a straight up socialist, and then she was magically out of the mayorship.
They're like, hey, do we even need a mayor?
Yeah,
I don't think we do.
Some shit will happen where suddenly they'll be like, does New York need a mayor? Yeah,
that will happen. And that's again, and just as a quick note, we're seeing that Trump is trying to do things empirically, where he's like, it's not just surrounding himself with yes men, but it's also like trying to take away anybody else's power and filter it into himself. That is also happening in a lot of the states that are Republican states. And I've said this many, many times before. You wouldn't guess it necessarily, but Indiana is very, very a testing ground politically for a lot of the things that happen end up happening nationwide.
Like most states, it's captured to a degree that regardless of what Indianans, regardless of what Indianans want, they're gonna do not. It's actually freaking California is a lot like this. If you talk to California residents and then look at California like politics and policies, they don't line up either. A lot of these states, actually, weirdly, Arizona seems like more resistance to that. They keep
kind of in the middle. You got that Western attitude.
I see them trying to do stuff, and then we'll just vote it down with another thing later. It's like, haha, like we increased minimum wage, and then they spent 5 years trying to fight that, and unsuccessfully, they were unable to stop the minimum wage from increasing. So that was kind of neat. But yeah, from what you describe, it sounds like even you could have you could vote your asses off, and Indiana would still not change because of the deeply entrenched system of subverting that will.
It is. That's absolutely it. And just the final point I wanted to make on that is that we got a new mayor, Mike Braun. He's a piece of shit, as you could guess. The guy before him was too, but this guy's like piece of shit 2.0. And now he's like, I need a helipad, but also we're cutting all the summer food programs for children, and and it's just he's firing all the boards of people everywhere, and he's also mimicking that Trump idea of trying to do things empirically and unilaterally. That's a word. So that is happening here too. So and they can see when you don't, because people don't pay attention to what's going on in Indiana. I guarantee you, no other state's giving a shit right now. But what's happening here ultimately ends up happening, nationwide. So I would suggest that these races, these smaller races, in these smaller places that may not affect, is New York City going to really impact myself in Indianapolis or Jared and Glendale, Arizona? No, because we're so far removed from it, it's not going to have anything to do with us. But you should keep an eye on these races, and if you feel like you should vote, but just kind of keep your expectations in check is where we can leave you on that, because we do have more pressing topics to speak of. Maybe you noticed there's a war going on, soft war, let's call it.
I was sitting there Saturday. It was at work, and I just see the Trump tweet where he's like, "We have bombed 3 nuclear sites," and I'm sitting there like, that's it. Like they can try, and they're trying to do like basically a takesies backsies on this war, but it's like, no, it started now. Like anything Iran does at this point is retaliatory because we decided to hit them first. Also, Iran doesn't have missiles that can even get to America, so the number of false premises of the whole like Iran. I don't have to convince anybody listening to this. I'm pretty sure all of us lived through Iraq, where they were telling us that Iraq was going to blow up frickin' Tampa or something.
Weapons of mass destruction, they're coming for you.
And they're just doing the exact same thing.
And it was Benjamin Netanyahu who was leading that charge.
Same guy.
25 years ago that started this, and for the past 40 years they've been like, Iran is literally 2 weeks away from making nuclear weapons, and they're coming for you. Yeah,
I'm over here saying North Korea has a fucking nuke and it's fine apparently. Yeah. I was told my whole childhood that the second that North Korea got a nuke, they would kill every man, woman, and child in the world. Mm-hmm. And jack shit has happened. In fact, what's happened is they've left North Korea alone a little bit more.
Yeah, and then it's just, this is again the role of propaganda in America, and we see that it was really effective in past generations, but now in this modern era it's much less effective. But then they've just, because they don't understand how to really rein in and use social media and use what we're literally seeing in front of our own eyes, except for faking things like with AI, that they just do it harder. They say the most ridiculous things. They make up things, and we know Trump makes shit up all the time. But he said, he comes out yesterday or day before and says, "I stopped the war. Give me the Nobel Peace Prize, guys. I stopped it." And then both places were like, "Pew pew pew." We don't know what he's talking about. Pew pew pew.
I want to do a very quick timeline, because it has been a very quick timeline. This started Saturday. We're sitting here on Tuesday, and the most recent development that's major was, I guess, yesterday. So like over 3 days, we had Saturday. We're bombing Iran. We bombed and destroyed these 3 nuclear sites. Also, the fact that they are attacking nuclear sites specifically is insane. That is psycho shit. That is exactly, if you remember, what we were criticizing Russia for in Ukraine, is that, they're getting too close to bombing this one nuclear plant. It was a big deal, and it turns out that Ukraine has military shit under that nuclear. Not even getting into that, but the fact that he's not just he's not just hitting military installations. He's hitting how much proof exists that Iran has never. There is still zero evidence that Iran is going towards a weaponized nuclear thing, but they are pursuing nuclear energy. And there's this whole thing of how much can you enrich the plutonium, to what degree, and everybody who's ever looked, all of the weapons inspectors, all of any UN representatives, they're all like, no, they're fine. They're doing nothing, man. Chill out. And then we lie about it. And how long has it been? And where do we bomb? The nuclear, of course. Oh my God. That is the most impeachable shit that I think Trump has done as commander-in-chief, and now watch the Democrats not want to impeach him. Like,
Right.
suddenly
Oh
they're gonna
no,
be like,
yeah,
oh,
very, very quiet. We're hearing crickets from Democrats, and only people who will are Democrats will argue. They've been arguing back. No, they're not. I don't care if they've been like. I haven't seen shit
which
from
one?
anybody. Who and from when? Yeah, like
John
okay.
Fetterman hilariously is like, Mr. President,
God.
I've never been, today you became commander-in-chief. Like, I don't think this was his quote, but he did a whole thing like, I know we have our disagreements, but like, this is a good move, man. And I'm like,
yeah, he's like, yeah, I hate Iran, glass Iran, go do it. I love you, Mr. President. And it's just like, me, what is this guy? What is this guy?
so we have striking nuclear sites, and then we have, and the funniest thing is, wasn't it in that very tweet? He's like, it ends with like, now is the time for peace. Like,
Yeah.
the second he is bombed, and there was tons of memes where it was like, it would show like the Death Star blows up Alderaan, and it's like, now is the time for peace.
Right. What a mess. What a mess. Of course, and then again, this is all in direct contrast. I don't think we have to tell you this, but this is all in direct contrast to the will of the American people. Nobody wants this overwhelmingly.
80% of Americans, by most polls showing, are
Americans
against war.
won't agree on 80% at anything ever. They won't even be like, do you like money? Yes or no. It wouldn't be 80%. Nothing.
And isn't it weird how the Democrats aren't leveraging this 80% issue to, do anything?
No.
Campaign even? Like, even just get out there and say, I told you so, because they
try
can't.
To get $5 out of you. No.
They can't, because they aren't
silent.
against war with Iran. They are just as pro-Iran war as freaking anybody. And the article, an article that's been going around, an example, is how there's you see, the Democrats would simply not have done this horrible war. And then you look and you're like, oh, U.S.-Israeli militaries jointly practiced Iran strike during Biden administration.
Yeah, during Biden administration. Hello, people. This is again why I caution against getting blinded by, good candidate. That's saying
They're
what
trying
I want
to tell me
say.
that fucking Kamala Harris would be super anti-war with Iran, and I'm like, she talked all the time about how much she wants to bomb Iran, and it's like, oh, well, you see, I can only think of two things, and if this thing is bad, that other thing must have been good, I guess. The whole argument was, ma'am, go on stage and say that you're going to stop blowing up Gaza, and we'll probably vote for you, and she wouldn't do it. What is this whole war based on? Israel's current rampage that was started with the increased bombing of Gaza that they used like the excuse of October 7th, and they were bombing Lebanon, Syria, like every one of their neighbors they are bombing, and they have a right to defend themselves.
Right, that seems to be the most popular conjecture, but she definitely, in between the word salad that comes out of her mouth and the inappropriate laughter from like wine lunch, she was very clear that she thought Iran was an enemy and that they needed to be taken control of. Like, I don't understand the mentality that anybody thinks that they need to be reigning in any other country. Like,
she was sitting in the fucking Situation Room right alongside of Biden as the vice president when the U.S. and Israel drilled an American strike on Iran about a year ago when she was in office. Is she a powerful, strong girl boss who would change the world, or is she so weak that she just had to sit there through the administration that she was in and say nothing and do nothing while secretly in her mind being super against all of this stuff?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you got to make up your mind, but they will always two-side you every bit of the way. And now we're at this point where things are just completely out of control. Like we really, at least one thing here is we've really managed to get rid of labels here, because Democrats are basically Republicans at this point. And are you mouthing, or
no? I'm just miming. The shit's all up in the air. It doesn't mean anything. Right now, none of these words mean fucking anything. It's insane to cling to one as if they're, quote, on your side. It's the uniparty has never been more uni than now.
Yeah, they are not. They're unified against the will of the people, and the people are, but still kind of basically refuse to unify against them. Like, we've been over here this whole time. The leftists, the people who see themselves as real leftists, not like watered down leftists or social dems or whatever, saying like, hey, all war is bad, guys. FYI. Don't do it. They have Iran has sovereignty because they're their own nation. Don't mess around with them. Leave them alone. No, Israel does not have the right to exist. No, they don't have the right to genocide. No, we shouldn't be participating in it. And here's what happened. A State Department representative. Did you see this? Tammy something or other just come out of the woodwork. A state representative comes up and literally says and like 100% says, no question, no confusion, says clearly, plain as day, America, because you know the MAGA is always America first. That's their whole shtick. And she literally says in an interview, America is the greatest country next to Israel. So, excuse me, what? Like what? So, okay. People get pissed off. This goes around the internet. She's like, "You took me out of context. That's not what I said. Here's the whole clip." So they play the whole clip. She doesn't. There's no extra context to it. There's nothing changes about what she actually said. She literally said, America is the best country next to Israel."
She was making a throw at her American Idol audition. She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, maybe I can say a thing that later I'll be bumped up a step. Maybe I'll go to the federal rep at this point." Because that's like the next, that's one of your audition levels. If you're a state rep, they look at you like, "Oh, who says all the right things the most?" That's who gets filtered up to the next, filtered up. It's not that everyone is like, "Oh, so evil," and it's, you just have layers. It's like a weird Hunger Games situation where you eventually filter down to only the most purely empty fucks, the most shells of human beings. That's why they wanted Biden as president so bad. He was a corpse. He's the man who is past. Trump is basically that also. We've seen on camera, it was, I don't remember the exact clip, but it was one of his dudes. They're sitting in the room where there's Trump and all the guys, and they were talking about a Supreme Court thing where Trump's thing he wanted like lost by like 2009 or something. It was like a full unanimous, and they just told him, like, we watch him on camera, them tell him the opposite. They're like, "Oh yeah, you won 9-0," and he's like, "Oh yeah, cool."
Oh, excellent. Like, yeah, right? Like, yeah.
He doesn't even know what's fucking. He is a 70-something-year-old man who
78.
also is.
He just turned 78, I believe, on the military birthday. I think it was 78.
He's not all there. He is an old man. They're leading from room to room. Your best situation, you can be like, "Oh, they're tricking him," but it's like, well, if he can be tricked, he's useless. There's no point.
Yeah,
like,
and then that's elder abuse. Then, if you want to go down that road, you know, like
you don't support him harder if you think he's being manipulated.
It's a hard dichotomy, because what's like when you have these bad people like Biden and Trump, but you know that they're quite literally being used and that their minds aren't all there. So like, okay, technically that's elder abuse, but also, do we care? Aren't we supposed to?
My whole point is these people aren't actually in charge, and this I think is even more evidence of that.
Yeah, and that's exactly where we are. And this also puts us always in especially people who comment like us about these kind of things, puts us in the speculation zone where, okay, like, I don't have time for like celebrity gossip, because right now I've got to like become an expert on like international military tactics. So like every new thing that comes up, like, we have to like become like experts on it, and everybody wants to talk about it. But like, my whole thing with this is, I mean, obviously I'm not a military strategist for Iran, but my whole thought of this is like, if they just took out Israel's ports, like straight up, like whatever, but they've taken it, and the Gaza's got a port, like if they got some ports, and you've talked about this many times about go for the ports, protest at the ports, but if they ports, if they just took out the ports suddenly and then just like flooded them with like aid, you know, like, or it started airdropping aid. I mean, of course it was called pandemonium, but I doubt that like humanitarianism is really in their scheme of war, but that would 100% even further push the approval rating of Iran in this to like astronomical levels around the world. Like, everybody be like, "Hey, they're turning Israel into a parking lot." Yeah, that's not great, is it? But also, do you realize what they did? They put in tons and tons of aid, and they brought aid, and they're helping, and they're helping, and they're helping. And then the other surrounding countries that Israel's been terrorizing, Jordan and Syria and Yemen, they jumped in there too. You know, like, it feels like this is a prime opportunity to really, really turn the narrative, and not only just like optically, and be like, "Oh, we did this, great," but also because it would be like a really right thing to do. It'd be a righteous thing to do, you know. And
if you're a leftist who's living in the Middle East, these are the questions that you have. That is the criticism that I hear a lot about. It's like, yeah, sure, Iran is resisting American imperialism just like by existing, but why aren't they actually doing anything? Yeah, Saudi Arabia is sitting, because it's like Saudi Arabia. It's like, we are Muslim, we are all Islamists in the world, we feel like a kinship. It's like how we will talk about bullshit about protecting Christians, and then you'll see a region where many Christians are being, like Syria, for instance, and we just kind of like facilitated further killing of. The reason I have the line of, "It is not my business what Iran does, what Israel does. I don't really care. We need to keep our money out of that," It allows us also, it is also a position that does not require endorsement of the people currently running Iran. There are some people, I would call them disgusting opportunists, who are like, now is the time to overthrow the Iranian regime. And I'm like, oh, so we have to do Iraq, Syria, Lebanon. We got to do one of those
Yeah.
on Iran, because you
And
can look at
Libya.
those countries, Libya, you can look at these countries, and if you look at their current status versus their previous status, like, I don't like Saddam Hussein, but holy shit, when Saddam Hussein's Iraq is very different from today's Iraq. I'm not gonna like frickin' tattoo Muammar Gaddafi on my forehead, but Gaddafi's Libya was very different from today's Libya. I leave it up to you whether you want to say better or worse, but it was definitely different. I do not care what happens in Iran. And what that also means is I do not want like trying to do a regime change on Iran is caring about what happens in Iran. I don't give a fuck. It is up to Iran to
That's
deal with
Iran's
all of their
business.
own nonsense. If the Iranian people want to overthrow their government, they can go ahead and effing do that. But if it's the US being like, here's some guns, go crazy people, go overthrow your government, that always ends the same way.
Yes.
In devastation. Like,
Right.
Iraq is not better off before our intervention. Vietnam weirdly is, but that's because they like drove us back out. Like,
Right.
if it ends with you getting pushed back out, then it can, yeah, because that's the people of a country doing something, not like,
Yes.
oh, we've shown up with our. It's a color revolution, basically. We've shown up with our giving. There's a dude who calls it, he's a prince. Everybody's a freaking prince in the Middle East. That was probably racist what I just said, but the guy who's calling himself a prince, giving speeches in English, talking about how he is the true and real ruler of Iran, and we should do a regime change to put him in charge. And everyone's like, "Why are you giving these speeches in English?"
Prince Juan Guaido.
Yes, Prince Juan Guaido is showing up, giving speeches. Like, what do you figure? Fucking, he thinks he's Lisan Al Gaib when he's really just some dude giving speeches in English to, I guess, his like trying to get some like George Soros money. I guess, like, help me do a fake revolution, please.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, and they do. I mean, the other countries do have these kind of leadership dust-ups all the time, but you will generally find that
if it's
somewhere,
internal
some
in their
way,
business.
yeah, somewhere, some way, some CIA pipelines have been established in there with some weaponry.
Like, if China wanted to take out Xi and replace him with somebody else, that's China's business. But if
Right.
it's the U.S. showing up and being like, do it, here's
Yeah.
some signs and bricks, go have a riot, like,
Right. Yeah, that's exactly that. And that, I think that more than anything is what people here in America and pretty much the rest of the world are like, get out of everyone else's business.
just leave everyone alone.
But
Team America World Police was a whole movie about this that we
but
all
we
thought
talk
was funny.
about this all the time. This is a bigger picture situation. This is the whole reason that we've backed Israel and the Greater Israel Plan, and that they're now trying to test up against Iran, is because they have resources America wants. That's always what it is, whether it's minerals, whether it's access to water, for
Closing
shipping
the
reasons.
Strait of whatever. I don't remember what it's called. The Strait of Huron or something.
Hormuz.
That's what Iran's doing right now. Oh, sorry, you just said it. Say it again.
Hormuz. Yeah, it's the Strait of Hormuz, and that's theirs. It's their strait. It's theirs. So, and it's a shipping port. It's where most of the oil goes through in the world. And they said that they were going to close it, but they don't really seem to have done that just yet.
I see a lot of ship tracking photos where it's like, oh, look, they're turning around. Okay, they're going back through. Like,
yeah,
what's
that may be a little bit undecided right now, because one thing we are seeing Iran do, which I don't really love, is that they are playing by the rules of engagement. And I kind of feel like the rules of engagement are bullshit. Like, wherever you are, like, I don't like, you don't have to be like, hey, we're gonna hit your area, your military base in 48 hours from now, so clear it out. Like, no, jump out of the trees and hack them to death with hatchets. Like, get in there. Like, if that's what you're gonna do, get in there. I'm not a war person. Like, I don't believe in it. But I am saying, like, if you're gonna do it, like, don't sit there and be like, okay, no, we do you, and now you do us. Who is that helping in any way? You're just trashing your own shit. You're trashing your own people. You're disrupting life. You're disrupting your economy. You're not doing any good here. You're just
It does show that Iran really does not seem to want a war.
Right? No, they're
doing
very
everything they can.
about getting drug into this. And that's another thing too. Like look at us. Do we look like we know? Like, we're sitting in the war room. We don't know shit. Like, we are put in a position of having to try to figure this out in real time as well. In a time when everything now is basically fake. So it's really hard, and the fakes are getting better. So it's really hard to souse out what exactly is real and what is going on, and what the real situation of everything is. So that
I wanted to
being
look for that
said,
very reason. Let's look at the professionals. Let's see what the Democratic Party,
yeah,
the people who are supposedly the good guys.
yes,
So we are, like you just said, not experts. We are not people who are trained and spend all day, every day learning about these things and have nothing else to do but
right.
learn about these things. So it's kind of excusable if we don't have fully formed opinions on like, what. But let's see what the experts here. Since I don't want to bury the lead here, but the headline of this is how Democrats undermined their own arguments about Trump's war powers. Since Donald Trump ordered the U.S. military to attack 3 of Iran's nuclear sites, it's sorry, I'm laughing because we have the country is Iran, but when I say Iran, I kind of feel like a tool, so I say Iran, but and then I feel like a different kind of tool, and then I'm like, but I could be saying Iran the weirdest way,
Yeah.
Iran or Iran.
Look, we're Americans. We have a stupid accent, just like everybody else. Shut up. We're not like dumb. We don't know what we're not talking about. We know some stuff. We just have dumb, especially in Indiana. We have high A's. This is how we talk. So you hear Iran come out of my mouth. We're still talking about the same place, okay? Like, anyway, please proceed.
Congressional Democrats have glommed on to one talking point. I'm surprised MSNBC is making this because this is a point that I would make, I think. Let's see what they're going with this. The president has violated the Constitution by taking the country to war. And we'll see where the article actually goes, but my view, again, this is why I maintain the I don't care what happens over there, because if I have to start making judgments about what would happen in some other country, that's kind of breaking the whole premise of the thing. It's not our business. We shouldn't be there in the first place. But this idea of, oh no, bombing Iran is fine, but you got to get permission first is kind of a weird way.
And
the
like
reason
everybody seems to be down for this. Like, you could get it in a second.
The reason I say that we should force congressional approval is that I think it wouldn't happen. That is the only reason that you'll hear me saying. I was talking last week about the Massey bill that would require a congressional approval before you go to war. You know, a thing that you're already supposed to have, like congressional approval. But I don't think that it's okay to just go striking Iran because now Congress wrote a thing on a piece of paper. Like, that wouldn't make me, oh yeah, now it's fine. Yep, good job. They got it through Congress. I'm completely fine with all of these actions now. The reason I push that because I know it wouldn't work. The same reason this is giving it away. Jared is deceitful and lying. I'm not. The same reason I say I don't care about those things and we shouldn't care and we shouldn't send our money, because I know the second we stop sending infinite money to this shit, it ends. Israel can't actually go fight these wars without an infinite supply of warheads from the U.S. So yes, when I say that the stance you should take is that's not our business, that is me saying that the war should end because that would inevitably lead to its end. It's just more approachable for regular effers on the street to take that's not our business, go away, than this big long foreign policy explanation. Well, you see, Israel's funding is actually from the U.S., which you can skip past all that. Right. I don't care, it's not my business. And people go, yep, makes sense to me, and you move on.
Yeah, it'd be nice to afford gas and food in America, so maybe we don't worry about what's going on across the world. And
that is related. Those things are directly related. The reason you can't afford groceries is because we're bombing Palestine. All right.
Yes. It is. It's the whole time. This is directly tied together, because when they take, like, they literally put through budget bills that are going to really fuck everybody hardcore, especially the poor. It's because, again, we've said before, they don't see poor as having any kind of value or any kind of use to the empire. So it's eugenically let's rub them out and make sure that only this top echelon of war pirates gets to have everything that that should be going rightly to the people who are paying taxes and are living in this country.
If you block missiles from leaving a port, you might as well just, in your head, cartoon swap out those missiles for stacks of cash. That's what it is. We are just exporting giant stacks of exploding cash to go around the world, where I would love a stack of non-exploding cash to be sent to America. It is very difficult to find non-lizard people who are way against that argument. But hey, let's listen to some of them now. Trump's Iran attack is unauthorized and unconstitutional, said the number 2 Democrat of the House, Kathleen Clark. On the Senate side, Maryland's Chris Van Holland argued Trump's actions are a clear violation of the Constitution, ignoring the requirement that only Congress has the authority to declare war, just like the last few wars we were in. AOC went further, posting Saturday evening that Trump has impulsively risked launching a war that may ensnare us for generations, and it is absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment. Cool, AOC. Let's see if that goes anywhere.
Yeah, even though she was fully on board with give Israel anything they want, Iron Dome, here you go.
she's like Bernie. She has a cycle. When things are going bad, she's allowed to be good, and when things are going good, she has to either shut up and disappear. Like, notice how Bernie started banging his drum about healthcare as soon as they knew the election was over. All right, let's get back to that universal healthcare that we've completely ignored for the last 4 years. Let's bring that up again.
No power to make any decisions about.
Exactly.
But you will give me $5.
If AOC is saying impeach, there's a zero chance of it happening. That's why she's allowed to say it. In February 2024, for instance, President Joe Biden ordered the U.S. military to hit Houthi rebels in Yemen who were attacking international shipping in the Red Sea. At the time, many Democrats did complain about Biden's usurping of congressional authority. From liberal House members such as Ro Khanna and, I thought it was Pamela Jayapal. It's Pramila. There's an R in there. I got to see these names in writing. Like, I thought it was Talib. It's Tlaib. Like, the L comes first. Right. However, these complaints didn't amount to much. Congress failed to pass an authorization for the use of military force supporting the attacks, in part because Democrats were fearful of embarrassing Biden in the midst of a re-election campaign. When Truck took office in January, he ramped up U.S. military actions, again, without legislation. So actually, MSNBC brought up a point in addition to mine, which is, we have never stopped non-authorizationally bombing fuckers, so why would we start now? And it's really funny you bring it up now, of all times, when you didn't care even just last year, February of 2024. Oh, baby. Thank you, MSNBC, comrade, Microsoft, NBC.
Right? Like,
Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution says the Congress shall have power to declare war. In 1973, Congress cited that section in passing the War Powers Resolution, which was intended to rein in the president's authority to wage war, probably against Vietnam in the 70s. The WPR allows U.S. presidents to initiate military action without congressional approval, but requires them to report to Congress within 48 hours and terminate the action within 90 days. So anyway, what I'm hearing is we got like 83 more days of this before anybody can do anything.
And was Biden at all held to this standard? Because I feel like he didn't report shit to anybody ever. He couldn't find his way out of the goddamn bathroom, like, let alone like And I don't want to hear any ableists argue. These people are, horrible people, and
I'm sure that AOC was calling for Biden's impeachment, just like she is calling for Trump's impeachment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure. I remember all that happening. And then I'm seeing like this Democratic propaganda, because it's not just like you think, oh, the Democrats are making their own propaganda. No, it's like they're dumbass supporters or somebody, or just incendiary people. I saw something go by in some Facebook thing the other day that was like, 6 months ago, the economy was stable and we weren't at war. And it's like, were you alive 6 fucking months ago? Like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever
seen. It's like, wait, what country do you live in?
People were putting like laughing, like the laughing response, like, hello, how fucking are you? Like, were you there? Like, it couldn't have been worse. Like this is literally a continuation of how things were. It's not like things just like Trump got elected and everything turned to shit. It just continued to turn completely rot, And another argument that's coming up in a lot of Facebook spaces, I'm seeing a lot, which is sort of a side note to all of this, is people are like, well, Iran treats women really bad, and they're bad about women. Okay, get back to me about how Iran treats women when Georgia doesn't keep a dead woman alive and then to harvest her baby, and then they have to take the baby out because the baby starts to rot. So maybe and that's frank terms, because that's literally what happened. So you can get back to me on that one, like the people who are making shit up, you propagandists, when you have a real argument. And the literacy in Iran and the STEM rates are huge, for women. So maybe it's not, maybe these things you should maybe read into a little bit further, and it's like, you're not gonna get to tell me that things there are horrible for people and for women, which I'm sure everywhere they are, because that's literally how like the world works. When you have things that are so horribly bad here for people and poor people and women and immigrants, and like now we have attack squads, and once again, a note on that, the only reason anybody's mad about ICE is because they're the same thing that always happens is the Democrats will do things quietly with decorum, and so that they don't disrupt your brunch. So, but you don't notice what's going on. But that Republicans will ram fucking through whatever horrible shit that they're both agreeing that they're going to do because they don't mind being the villain. They can be the heel in the WWE shit all day long.
The pattern I've seen has been pointed out to me, and now the longer I live, the more I'm like, yeah, I think there's some truth to that. Is that the Democrat like sets it up, and then the Republican knocks it down. Where like you have where Clinton would not have been able to get through, what was it, like NAFTA or so,
right?
Or no, I'm sorry, it was the opposite. Where yeah, they play this like bouncy back and forth. There's a reason that they pretend there's two parties. There are so many advantages to playing like a fake villain off one another.
Yes.
Where yeah, wars that like Reagan wouldn't have been able to start, frickin' Clinton can then move in and get going because people aren't really paying as much attention. Where you have Biden setting up all the stage for this frickin' Iran nonsense like we were just going over, and then yeah, when Trump just slides in and kind of cleans it up.
Yeah.
Where sometimes it's more advantageous to get through a program under a Democrat when people are at brunch or vice versa. Sometimes it's easier under a Republican.
And we've quite literally seen liberals making that argument when they went out for the Pussy Hat rally a couple weeks ago, and they're literally holding up, "We'd be at brunch right now." Yeah, I know you would be. You know, that's the whole point here. Then that's why everybody hates liberals on both sides. And again, like we are now put into this kind of leaderless, idealist, conceptless area now where the right and the left in some ways are coming together on the idea of no fucking war. How about we be able to afford food? You know, like I said this in the last show, but a week or so ago, I retweeted something that Marjorie Taylor Greene said, who's basically just the right's AOC, just about as useful as she is. So, and she was like, hey, they don't want this. And then we played we had to play Tucker Carlson on this show more than once. We don't want to do that. You know, don't put us in this position because like they're
everyone is welcome.
The bare minimum.
All journalists, personalities, whatever, are welcome to go and do an interview as good or better than the kind that Tucker does. They just don't.
They don't.
I would love to play these clips. They don't exist.
We can only play what's out there.
This MSNBC article, as I've been going down here, I won't read through the whole thing, but I keep noticing, I'm like, at no point do they suggest that striking Iran is bad in and of itself.
Right.
They're just saying that it basically comes down to make the argument. They go back and they actually point out, like, look, Obama was out there criticizing people out doing things, and then he exploded Libya. And I'm like, damn, I did not think they would acknowledge that. But they don't acknowledge it as if it's like some horrible mistake and disaster.
Just did it.
It's like necessary evils, essentially. It's like, well, you see, sometimes you just got to strike Iran. And they even go down, it's like, there's plenty of grounds for criticism of the strikes, for example, and you're like, oh, like how it's a bad idea that could get us in an endless war that will just drain us of resources for no effing reason against a country that poses no threat at all towards us. No, it's that while Trump's public warnings about the attack may have spurred Iranian officials to hide their supply of uranium, they hid the WMDs because we were too nice about telling them we were going to strike.
We were going to come in there and get them.
So they hid all their nukes, I guess, and it's like,
they
this
hid
is
them really
MSNBC.
good.
The
no one anything about their resources or any kind of regime change or anything. That's not got anything to do with it.
The suggestion is that he's like, well, he's like, you need to get Congress approval. It's that no, we should be striking around, but we should get congressional approval. Also, this is an article written by, I saw the name Michael Cohen, and I'm like, wait, what? Because that was one of Trump's lawyers. It was Michael Cohen.
Trump's lawyer.
It's a different guy. It's not that Michael Cohen.
Different Michael Cohen.
But this is a Michael Cohen whose most recent book is from 2019, and it's called Clear and Present Safety: The World Has Never Been Better and Why That Matters to America. 2019, the world has never been better. So that's the kind of guy writing these. That's how much
I
of a
was there in 2019, and I think it was pretty bad.
that's how insulated the person writing this is from reality.
Right. And that's again what we're saying here is like everybody is kind of in a weird way homogenizing in the wrong way. There was
still got to strike Iran. We just don't like the guy doing it.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like this. We're going back to Orange Man Bad, where there were historically the red and the blue both hated him. And then we got people like Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene saying the right things, and that fucking sucks. And we've got the supposed good guys.
Tucker Carlson is a Zionist. Tucker Carlson is a proud Zionist, and he's saying we shouldn't strike Iran.
Right. And Biden declared himself the same. Like he also said that he was an out and proud Zionist, essentially. So, and then that's the thing. And if you want to look at like, okay, well, where's the left? Where's the, they're basically, this is why the left hates the left, because I just saw I don't really know podcasters. I'm like not in that world. But I do know that Destiny was like a big deal dude to the fake left, I guess. One of the main, like, you have
Millennial
like
and Zoomer Democrats.
Piker, and then you have this guy. But there's just recently a video of him talking to IDF soldiers, and his advice to them was like, literally like, okay, people are really mad at you because you keep like mocking the people you're killing and like putting on their nightgowns and their bras and stuff like that. Like, don't film yourself doing that, but keep doing it. Like, he literally said, but have your fun. And it's like, this guy was supposed to be like, these are ops. These people are fucking fakes. This is why there is no organized left, and that's why they really can't be infiltrated by the CIA, because these people are fucking fakes already to begin with. They are just people who, it's like news people or politicians. They look for the people who will just say anything to get you paying attention to them. The people who, commercially make AI slop. They will just do or say or make or create anything. They don't believe in anything, so they will do whatever is going to get the most attention to their point.
This sounds like conspiracies, and then you hear it and you're like, there's no way, that's so dumb. There's no way they would just do that. I'm pretty sure, I can't say for certain that Destiny specifically was at this, but Tim Pool, basically, it's just Destiny with a fucking hat on, he confirmed that he attended a meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Ben Netanyahu in April of this year.
Why not?
And that meeting was with several podcasters and media figures to address anti-Israel trends in right-wing media. So
and
it's like,
do
was
this.
Destiny sitting in that room? Maybe.
Yeah. And did the check
coach
clear?
you.
I mean, that's what we're talking about
These
here.
people who are like nobodies, these are just streamers. This is just like if me and you suddenly were getting a freaking meeting with a head of state to tell us how to talk about their specific country, and then of course you don't have to like mention that or anything. The fact that came out was a big controversy, and Tim Pool was really mad that somebody like told him, it's like, hey, you can't just like, well, we keep calling you Israel shills, and then you tell us that you had a shill meeting. You had a little shill convention for like a day and a half where they taught you how to shill properly, and then you did that.
Yeah.
So
like, don't sit here and say that you're coming out being like that. And again, that's why the main most famousest, what's that, the vouch. Am I right? Am I on that he was like and then they were like, this guy's a pervert, and then but like, that's always what it goes. And then they got the Destiny, and you've got the
Destiny is considered the more centrist, and then Vouch is considered, quote, far left, but then he had child porn cartoons involving horses that he just accidentally opened on stream because he had a folder on his computer, and that's why you haven't really heard much about him lately. But
my point is these guys are just as disingenuous as your CNN anchors will say or do anything.
They're the new thing, because boomers listen to CNN and MSNBC, etc. Millennials and Zoomers listen to streamers, and like that's why freaking going on Joe Rogan is so important. That's why Tucker Carlson even matters. The fact that they kicked him off of his network show, and he's like, all right, I'm just a rich guy, I don't care, I'm just gonna do this out of my house, and he's now like more successful because people don't watch the news, which is good overall, but now you're just out there in the frickin' free-for-all zone of, you assume at first, well, this is like a small streamer, there's no way they're getting paid by a government to espouse propaganda at me, and it's like, no, they know that you watch them now, so they do. They get these dudes, they will send them on a little trip, give them a nice time in a hotel for a weekend, and now suddenly all of their opinions about X, Y, or Z change.
Yeah, they suddenly get this kind of secret position of like, oh yeah, like, and then they start thinking about what they could make off of it and how they could benefit, because they are also just as disingenuous as the people on the right that get accused of your CNN anchors. It's all like there are people among us who are willing to do anything for money. Like, we all need money, we have to have money, but there are people.
The filter of, it's not that every single, they don't pick a guy and then make him the king. They kind of spread it out amongst the field, and then the kings emerge. They're like, look at me, I'm the biggest fuck on the planet, you should pay me even more. And then you go up a level, and then suddenly you're Hassan, and you're on fucking CNN doing interviews with like, well, Hillary Clinton was ContraPoints, but like suddenly you're getting these big time interviews, and it's like, oh, it's because I'm so good. It's like, no, you're winning the American Idol fake bullshit competition.
You figured out the cheat code, essentially.
You've proven you're willing to say the right things, so you go. If you didn't say those things,
he's like
you wouldn't have the interview.
He was like nobody. He was a nobody guy who ultimately became a multimillionaire from doing this, from talking at a camera like this. Like this, it's, you have to be willing to not have if you want to succeed at this for real, and whether it's like entertainment, podcasting, or gaming, or or tech talking or this. You have to be willing to put your own personality aside, put on a caricature that makes people think that you are being genuine with them and these are your own opinions and ideas, and be willing to say or do anything, because that's how people really genuinely succeed in the West, most especially in America. Like, you have to be willing to be a fucking fraud to make any money, and that's why we're poor as shit. Like, we won't do it or haven't done it yet. We haven't got the offers.
It is why we are not offered sponsor deals, because
right?
you don't say the things that you say when you get sponsor deals.
Yeah, right. Yeah, as soon as like you start hearing people like advertising and putting out commercials and stuff, it's like, well, that means that like they wouldn't like be on your show or sponsor you, whatever, if you didn't have come to some sort of agreement, about what you were going to say.
It's not usually nearly as direct as Netanyahu invites you to a room where you talk about the thing. It's more of a, you go, oh wow, when I was talking like this, I was getting these deals, and then, oh no, the deal started drying up, I better change. But it's like you feel it out. Even CNN anchors, I don't think they're given just like a straight up just a list of here's the things you say, but you figure it out. Oh, when I said that, I got a worse time. Oh, I shouldn't say that anymore. Like,
right? Yeah, People get pissed off at me when I say these things, or people go and I get extra money and go to meetings when I say these things.
Who's that guy Vaughn who was on CNN? I think his last name is not Vince Vaughn. He's like a black dude.
Oh no, you mean like the kind of, he was a comedian like Theo Vaughn. He was like
I'm not thinking of Theo Vaughn either. It was a CNN dude who, like, pre-Biden election, the most recent one we had a clip of where he was like killing it. He was like, slam dunk, truth nukes, yeah. And now he's most recently on CNN being like, well, you see, striking Iran is good for these following reasons. And it's like, oh, okay, I see. He's just one of those guys. Freaking Hassan, the other one, Hassan, not the Hassan the internet, the
Mehdi Hassan.
Yeah, the one who was on CNN.
Yeah, and then
the CNN guy. Yeah. He got kicked off of his show because he wouldn't go along hard enough with the Zionist shit. But look, he's right back. He's right back he's on CNN again. He's back in the club because he's saying the right words again. He's kind of shut up about the whole Israel thing. Like,
yeah. And that was, I mentioned Theo Vaughn, who I remember, if you're old enough, he was on like Real World or Road Rules way back in the day. But the only reason I bring him up is because that's another example of that. Like, he was basically like a celebrity podcaster guy. He did stand-up comedy for a minute, and then that transitioned into podcasting.
It's a big deal now, I guess.
Then now he's like, I didn't do politics before, but now I'm into it. And then like he's kind of going around doing the Middle East tour and shit like this.
I saw clips of him very sadly trying to be like, look, what's happening in Gaza. And I'm like, okay, good job, I guess.
Right? Yeah. So it's a game. If you want to say what you mean, then you remain in this kind of stasis area like we're in. But if you want to make money, then you do what the others have done and you play the game. So
Theo Vaughn's interesting because I think Theo specifically, I've seen like 3 clips of him, but just like looking at how he talks and how he acts, he seems like a guy who genuinely does not want to care about the politics things, but now just like everything is politics.
Right.
And he's like, I'm approaching this from a very common sense, normal person perspective, and I'm sitting here like, and I agree with most of the shit you're saying, you see? And I can see that people are trying to like, well, what if we just nudge him over? And you're gonna see which way he goes. Like freaking there's been many times in the past. There's an alternate universe where Kanye West is doing the same nonsense, but like in a left direction where he's doing pro-Stalin rap songs instead of pro. It's just who got in his ear first though. It was freaking Tim Pool and Nick Fuentes and other like weirdo neo-Nazi Zoomers. So that's where he went. And
a lot of these people, they are in the same industry, so they are basically connected in that way as well. Wasn't there? There was. I think you mentioned something about Nick Fuentes and Destiny having some sort of relationship. Was that? Am I getting the right people right?
The rumor is that they fucked.
Oh, hey. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, where are your, like, if you, I don't know, you got to be kind of some sort of like weird brain pervert to get turned off or turned on by like somebody who has diametric, like I want everybody to die, and you're like, I want everybody to live. Let's do it. Like that just doesn't make any sense, like to me. Like, so that just shows you like the disingenuousness of what we're hearing and why things are so difficult to souse out and why it's so hard to understand and find somebody to listen to, because you'll listen to them one day and you're like, this is great, this is really good stuff, and then you find out they're the child porn horse pervert or something, and you're like, God damn it, I was taken in again. But that's why I stay away from it completely. Like,
it was the Bernie rise, and now we've gotten down to we hit like a critical mass with all with the online lefty talk about shit, because as we've seen now for 2, 3 or so elections in a row, you can summarize all your videos as capitalism's bad, vote for Democrats, and then in other words, capitalism's bad, vote for Democrats, and then it's like, how do you make that video again? Those videos have all been made. What do
Right.
you possibly say? Capitalism is still bad, and you should still only ever the only thing you can possibly do, vote for Democrat. Well, they might say like go to walk around in a protest, and it's like cool, and then you vote for Democrats though, right? And like yeah, that is still our only prescription to any of this.
Yeah, walking around. I mean, like, I like the idea that people do feel motivated to get out of their life and walk into the street with a sign. I appreciate the motivation. The
I'm waiting for the
reasoning.
anti-war protests. Where the hell are they?
Yeah, but at the same time, these people aren't really standing for anything so much as they are wanting to have something to do on a Saturday afternoon and post for Instagram pictures with their sign and get noticed.
It's we just don't like this guy. But
Yeah. And then that's the main problem, because unless people start to really feel like, okay, the government is absolutely not listening to us, left and right are basically agreeing on some things which nobody's happy about. What do we do about this to back this up? Like say for instance, even though I think this would really do it if they try to announce a draft. Like I think that would really bring people with the sticks and the pitchforks out to the torches and the pitchforks out to the street. I really think that might do it. But what is only going to do it, because we know violence doesn't do it, and again, that's an individual decision that you can make if you feel like you need to be. But again, they're goading you into doing that. But if these things that either you march peacefully, or you try to be friends with the cops, or you try to fight the cops and you burn their police stations down. None of that shit works because they approve of those things. They know people are going to do those things. What does work is hitting them in the wallet. And that's where the only thing that people really have any agency over doing in union is general strikes. And people are like, well, I got to buy groceries. Yeah, everybody does. There are ways to do this. Just like the bus strikes and things. Like there are ways to do this. There are organized ways to do these things to get the government, who is supposed to be representing you, to listen, to either be nullified ultimately, to put maybe a new sort of structure in place that takes over that structure. There are ways forward. But no one is willing to have that conversation because they really don't want to be inconvenienced. They want a Saturday afternoon activity.
It also requires that you deal with people who you do not ideologically probably have like best friend ultra super agreements with. If you want to shut down a port, you have to deal with truckers and you have to deal with porters. I say deal with as if they're these like horrible, I don't mind these people. I have no problem with working class people. Most of the leftists that I know, capital L leftists, find those people disgusting. They call them deplorables, and they're like all these garbage people who are ruining America, because they still haven't gotten it through their head that it's not individual mean people that make America unpleasant. It is the system in which we live in. And they'll say that to you. They'll go, yes, the system. Then like, okay, we're going to go do a strike with these truckers. Well, who'd the truckers vote for? And it's like, fuck off, man. We just can't do anything. It's all right, they voted for the wrong guy. Where is the only unionized Amazon plant? Staten Island. Who did Staten Island vote for? President Trump twice. Do you see it? Does that do it for you? Can you take those two facts, mush them together in your head, and make a new color of Play-Doh? You have to work with people who don't necessarily share every single one of your beliefs. Do you want to get the thing done, or do you want to get the I'm a good boy sticker? I had all the right opinions. Here's my flag while my country burns to the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And that's still where we are. And that's it and that's what they want from us to do. It's not a conspiracy.
Absolutely.
We're not we're not sitting here in bunkers and foil helmets, people. This is literally what's going on. Like, this is what it is. They want you to act like, the brown people are taking your gerbs, and they're the reason that you are poor. And if we get these immigrants out, you're going to get to be able to pick strawberries or whatever, all that you want. Then you have your gerb back. Like, this is literally the nonsense that they want you to think, is that like the poor, you are poor, but these poor brown people are the reason that you are poor. Like, and if they keep you, whatever the argument, if you're red, they're blue. Ew. So like, if they keep you arguing and keep you fighting about shit that doesn't matter, literally labels on things like which kind of butter do you prefer? Oh, like that's like literally what we're talking about here. This shit couldn't matter less.
Half of Latinos voted for Trump.
Yeah, right?
Take that knowledge.
That's what you find.
Take that fact and mix it with other facts and fucking get a new idea out of it. You can't just walk like... you can't just pretend that the thing is how it is this perfect picture in your head. You have to look at reality and then act based on reality.
And listen, okay,
Materialism.
so you hear us. I mean, like communism is the ultimate thing, where the workers own part of it, and we do in it, and everybody works together, do their part, right? Okay, so if that's the utopia, do you think in a communist country everybody agrees
Everyone
with
agrees.
everybody about everything all the time, and that's how that works? Of fucking course not. You know,
Yes,
like,
you all put on the same shirt and you get brainwashed, and that's how communism is.
I'm gonna check into the chat real quick. Wine lunch. H says wine lunch. I thought it was brunch. We were supposed to get back to the girl boss in charge. Yeah, that's what that they want. Shout out to Are You Time Traveler 2 for watching. Thank you. Nathan Coyote says people have lost their agency and how to protest and need to learn how to have an out group, and that's what we're saying here. You need to put the playpen argument aside and be
The
like, I
only
like,
out
you like.
group, the only out group are the parasitic banker class and the people who are trying to enforce their agenda.
Yeah.
Other than that, let's work together and actually accomplish something. And then
how
afterwards,
do you think
I
those
go home.
people? Well, yeah, but how do you think those people got what they wanted? Do you think every war contractor agrees with each other about, you know, which ice cream is the best? Do you think that like they could or order a pizza together and get the same thing? Like, it doesn't fucking matter because they see an end goal. They say, hey, I don't care what you like and you don't care what I like, and it doesn't matter what we call ourselves. Let's make money. And that's what they fucking do. And if everybody else could start to get into that mindset, and we may have accidentally blundered into the first like bit of that now, where right and left are kind of headed in the same, not everything, but like in the same thought direction about, at least about war and about the economy. Even if we're coming from different directions, like if you took one and you take the other and neither of them are exactly perfect, and then you put them together, but they kind of equal the same idea of like how to make better. Like, all right, we'll argue the bullshit later when we have the luxury of doing it, but we're past the luxury of arguing bullshit, is what the people on the left at least are trying to say.
I wish the people who are bombing Iran would have a big fight where it's like, sorry, we can't bomb Iran. Why? Well, because that guy doesn't like abortion, or that guy is racist, or what. So we just can't do this war. Wouldn't that be awesome? But no, every time they come together and they manage to make it happen. They solve their differences, like Nicolette was just saying. They keep their eye on the fucking prize, and they accomplish their goals.
The end goal is what we need to think about. And right now, the way to an end goal of any kind is organizers to come through that we can agree that we listen to. You know, people like Christian Smalls, who organized the first Amazon labor union.
Staten Island.
On Staten
which is
Island.
Full of
like,
horrible
just an
racist
example.
bigots that everyone hates.
He was just a
right?
guy. He was just a guy, right? But just that's how it always starts. And usually with unions, that's how it always starts. He was just a guy, and now he's recognized as a really good, knowledgeable, like paragon of organization, right?
Staten Island is 10 million Andrew Cuomos, and he organized them into a fucking union.
He got them to say like, okay, none of us have the same politics. We don't live the same way. We don't like the same ice cream, but we don't like how we're being treated.
I want paid more, and I want bathroom breaks. Do you want paid more? We got it. High five, man. We're together.
Now, if we can get those types of people to kind of like come up again, people who are good at organizing, even if it's just like I put on music shows and people listen to me and I organize groups. If you're a good organizer, start looking at how to learn other people how to do that, because you have people like us who are willing to talk about that kind of thing and willing to promote those ideas about how we could do an effective general strike to get, you know, focus back on this country and really, you know, I in the big picture, I really am not sure how we fight the war contractors, especially since now we're seeing the tech companies really get into that industry as well for these government contracts. But people smarter than me, maybe, you know, you could start putting these words out, start saying things, start getting our attention so that we, you know, we could promote the message.
They only got a plan for like 3 months, which is why I'm optimistic, is that this stuff can fall apart way faster. It's like, well, how do we stop all the bombings? It's like, give them a couple months, they'll just run out of shit.
Maybe they just run out. Yeah.
We're really bad at war. We are so bad. Like, we have not been able to field a decent military since the
How
Civil
has
War.
Ukraine gone? If you think that we have a way forward with Iran, how has Ukraine gone? Ask yourself that. But we will get those minerals. I can tell you that. So we will get the minerals, and then they will be dependent on us for our grain and our supplement. And that is the end game. So if you are tired of this kind of thing and you want to see a new direction, then, you know, maybe start putting that out there. Get your own show, put that out there. So okay, we're at about our time. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate any of you who have listened, comments. Thank you. We will be back next week. We're going to be Jared's going to be in and out over the next month. He's got some
July, big month of
so
work.
anywhere anybody can see you live. Are you doing any live shows?
Yeah, I'll be a very. Well, the first one's like I'll be in Pittsburgh for 4th of July weekend, and then after that, it's like then I'll be in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Okay. Well, if you're
there.
if you're in Pittsburgh and then you're in Brazil, okay, all right. Yeah, just check his socials and you see where he can be. So you may be seeing some solo shows from me. I might be taking a minute as well, depending on if we could fit it in, if things aren't crazy all the time. So I will keep you posted. As always, you can follow us on social. You can check out our archives on YouTube and Rumble. Questions, comments, just send to our Twitter. So thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate you. Stay safe. Kind of get your organizing brain on, and forget about what kind of pizza everybody likes. Just let's do something, guys. Let's do something. Hey, study up on the American Revolution. Why don't you? I'll give you one of those. That maybe we can do a solo show on that. So, all right, we'll see you guys. So take care, please. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Bye.
See you around.